The best way I know to explain what a brand actually is just takes one word. Ready? Frog. You pictured something specific, probably green, probably sitting on something, maybe Kermit,
ABC.
maybe one from your high school biology class. You didn't picture a description of a frog, you pictured an actual specific frog. That's what a clear brand position does. It creates a specific mental image instantly. As an AEC marketing and branding consultant, the thing I see more than anything else is this. Most AEC firms don't have a marketing problem. They have a brand strategy problem that's showing up as a marketing problem. So by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what AEC branding actually is and the 4 mistakes that most firms are making right now that are quietly costing them work. My name's Josh Miles, and helping AEC firms with marketing and branding is all I do. I'm the founder of Bold Brand, a podcast host, a TEDx presenter, and I wrote the book on AEC brand strategy called Bold Brand 2.0. Stick around to the end of the video to see how you can get a free copy. Here's the most important and maybe most obvious thing I'll tell you in this video. Your logo is not your brand. I know everyone says that, but here's why it matters in practice. Because most firms still act like it isn't true. When an AEC firm decides to do a little brand refresh, the conversation almost always starts with a new visual identity. New logo, new colors, website updates, they hire a freelance designer, they get something that looks polished and modern, and they call it done. What they've actually done is just decorate the front of the building that doesn't yet have a foundation. Here's a metaphor I call the brand tree. Picture a tree. The roots, invisible underground, are your brand strategy, your values, your purpose, the convictions that actually drive decisions inside your firm. The trunk is your positioning, the specific market position you own, the clients you serve, the problems you solve better than anyone else. Above that comes your voice, how you sound, the words you use, the way you show up in writing and in conversation. Only then, up in the branches, is your visual identity, your logo, your colors, and all the way at the top, the ones that are most visible are the leaves, your website, the proposals, and your collateral, all of those touch points. Most AEC firms start with the leaves and work their way down. And then they wonder why the brand doesn't feel right or why it's not moving the needle in pursuits. The reason is simple. A visual identity has to express something. And if there's nothing to express, no clear strategy, no real position, what you get is decoration, a beautiful logo pointing at nothing. But here's what's even more dangerous than starting with the leaves. The next mistake is one I see at almost every AEC firm, and it has a name. The bland brand. You've probably seen this, maybe you've written it yourself. We're a full-service firm offering expertise across a range of market sectors. That's not a brand position. That's a description of existence in AEC, and descriptions don't win work. The bland brand trap happens when a firm tries to appeal to everyone and ends up saying nothing compelling to anyone. The fear that drives this is completely understandable. If we get specific, we'll miss out on all this work. So instead, firms hedge. They list every service they offer, they photograph every project type, their about page sounds like every other about page in the industry. And the painful irony is, the vagueness that's supposed to keep the door open actually closes it. Because when a client is evaluating firms, they're not looking for a generalist who might be able to help. They're looking for the firm that clearly understands their specific problem. Now, I know what you're thinking. If we niche down, we'll lose opportunities. Our firm does all kinds of work. Well, here's what the data actually shows. The more specific your positioning, the more it expands your perceived expertise, not the other way around. A firm that says, we specialize in healthcare environments with a focus on behavioral health doesn't lose hospital work, they win more of it. Because they own a word, they own a space, and when that specific client need comes up, they're gonna get the obvious call. Okay, so you know you need to get specific, but how? Well, that's where this next concept comes in. And this one changes how you think about communication entirely. The megaphone and the wedge. There are 2 ways to talk about your positioning, and it's a metaphor my friend Blair Enns taught me. The first is the megaphone. You broadcast everything, all your services, all your sectors, all your capabilities at full volume to everyone, and hope that something lands. This is how most AEC firms communicate. The website lists 12 market sectors. The capability statement runs through 30 services. The LinkedIn bio says award-winning design firm and stops there. The second way is the wedge. The wedge is pointy and narrow by design. It's built to penetrate, to get into a specific space and own it. The wedge says one thing clearly to the right people, over and over. The key contrast? The megaphone is louder, but the wedge goes deeper. In professional services, depth beats volume. Clients aren't looking for the loudest firm. They're looking for the firm that understands the problem better than anyone else in the room. So firms that lead with the wedge may get invited into fewer rooms, but they win a far higher percentage of the ones they enter. Most AEC firms are so afraid of being excluded that they never get specific enough to be genuinely chosen. But here's the thing, knowing you want to lead with the wedge is one thing. Knowing what your wedge actually is, that requires another question, and it's the hardest one, the onlyness test. There's one question that cuts through all of this, and I call it the onlyness test. Can you finish this sentence? We are the only firm in this space that does this, or stands for this, or specializes in this one thing. Not one of the leading, not among the top, the only. If you can't finish that sentence specifically, clearly, and without hedging, you don't have a unique brand position yet. You have a description of your capabilities, and those are not the same thing. Now, the onlyness doesn't have to be some dramatic or completely invented niche. It can be a combination of factors. Your focus, your geography, your specific approach, your client type, your firm's culture. It's the intersection of all those things that's your niche. Let's take a look at an example in practice. We're the only engineering firm in the Southeast that focuses exclusively on educational facilities, with an in-house construction administration team. That's a position. That's a wedge. That's something a client can hold on to and remember when the right project comes up. When I work with AEC firms on brand strategy, the onlyness test is always the question that creates the most discomfort and the most clarity, because it forces you to choose. And choosing is where you're going to find that wedge. That's not a limitation, it's a competitive advantage. So here's the truth about AEC branding. Your brand is not your logo. It's the strategic decision about who you are, who you're for, and why you're the only right choice for them. Build from the roots, not down from the leaves. Escape the bland brand trap by getting specific. Communicate with the wedge and not the megaphone. And take the onlyness test. If you can't finish that sentence, your work's not quite done yet. Tell me which one of these things you're going to tackle first. The best comment gets a free copy of my book, Bold Brand 2.0. Print, digital, or audio, you get to pick. The firms I've watched go from invisible to in demand didn't do it by tweaking their logo. They did it by making a strategic decision about what they stood for, and then building everything outward from that decision. That decision is the brand. But your brand isn't the only consideration your firm needs to make to stand out. So watch this video next to see the 20 AEC marketing mistakes firm owners need to avoid. And if this video gave you a new way to look at this problem, hit subscribe. This channel is built specifically for AEC marketers and firm leaders who want to grow their firms through better marketing and brand strategy. We'll have another new video next week. See you next time.